Happy Wednesday. I'm Richard Chapman. I'm a former member of YF and I'm currently studying in the city of Sheffield. And today I'm bringing you your Wednesday word, so thank you for listening to me. Today we're going to be looking at one of the Beatitudes, and the Beatitudes form the first part of a longer series of sayings by Jesus that form the Sermon on the Mount. You can read about them starting in Matthew chapter 5. And we've got a picture of Jesus on a mountainside, and he sits down and suddenly speaks to this huge crowd. People have come from all over the place, from Galilee to Judea, from Jerusalem, the Jordan and Syria. And Jesus sits down and begins to teach them. And one of the first things he says is, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." So let's just spend a few minutes meditating on this verse and asking God, what does it mean to be a peacemaker? Imagine two people have fallen out. They've got a broken relationship. To be a peacemaker is to step inside the middle of that broken relationship and to love both sides, whatever they've done, whatever they've said, to have compassion on both sides, to love them, and to seek the reconciliation between those two broken parties, to try and create a space that isn't populated with anger or bitterness, but try and restore a relationship based on humility and forgiveness. One word that I'd love for you to ponder throughout the rest of today is the word reconciliation. To reconcile is to rejoin two sides of a broken relationship. Reconciliation. And peacemaking and reconciliation doesn't just involve our family and friends who have fallen out. I think there's also a wider calling for reconciliation in our communities. And so let's look at the example of Jesus. Immediately after the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus heads down off the mountain. And I'm just going to read from Matthew chapter 8. Jesus came down from the mountain, and a man with leprosy knelt before him and asked Jesus to make him clean. Jesus heals him and then says to the man, "See that you don't tell anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them." People with leprosy were often excluded from religious life. Their skin disease was called unclean, and therefore they couldn't participate in the Jewish religious life. And if you remember, a little while back, Steve Dole gave a talk on the village of Bethany, situated just outside Jerusalem, because around Jerusalem there was a perimeter through which nothing unclean could enter. So people with leprosy, a disease called unclean, would not be able to enter into the city of Jerusalem. So they'd often be at places like villages like Bethany. And so I'm guessing the priest and the man with leprosy weren't particularly well acquainted. What Jesus does here is he doesn't just heal the man of leprosy. Jesus is trying to restore the relationship between the man with leprosy and the priest. Jesus is trying to reconcile this man who's previously been excluded from religious life and religious circles back into the life and tradition of the Jewish faith. This man was called unclean, and that would have gone deeper than just his skin disease. And Jesus doesn't want to simply see him healed. Jesus wants to see him reconciled with his community. Again and again, we see Jesus go to the people that society and the synagogues have rejected, because Jesus wants them to be reconciled back into their communities. And this is really important because the kingdom of God isn't an exclusive club, but is an open invitation. Without reconciliation, people will be excluded from hearing the gospel. Put another way, Jesus' good news message about his kingdom can't be for everyone if there are people we don't talk to or who we avoid. So I'd like you just to spend some time today perhaps thinking, who are the marginalised in your neighbourhood? Who are the people that society and churches have rejected? And let's be inspired by the example that Jesus sets. Let's reconcile these people back into community. Those who have been marginalised back into community. So perhaps spend some time just now asking God for his help to do this, because we can't do this on our own. So take a moment now just to sit with God and asking for his help. Thank you very much for listening.